are the best. You got the best. The hottest band in the world.
Well, we eventually had to do it, and here it is. And it won't be the only Kiss album that makes the grade either. They'd already done 3 studio albums, and they thought, heck, let's do a live one. Now, let's put this into perspective, and let's not pull any punches. The driving force of this band is this guy. His name is Paul Stanley. Arguably, Gene Simmons had a lot to do with it as well. As a founding member, co-writer, I mean, he was a good business mind, and is, as well. Marketing. But Paul Stanley, in terms of the music and being the front man, I'll probably get hammered, but he's the dude. And that's it. Now, putting it all together, 3 studio albums and now a live album called Alive. Now, Alive is arguably one of the finest live rock albums of all time. So we're not just categorizing the best rock albums of all time. This also fits in the genre of the best live rock album of all time. Yes, there are critics. I mean, the band's always been divided by its monstrous fans and the critics that call it the circus act. But at the end of the day, you don't sell 100 million albums by being a circus act. Bring it back to the music. Now, the boys figured this out early in the piece. And by releasing Alive, they knew that they would have something on their hands that was, in essence, who they were. Without doubt, this band performance in terms of live concert arenas is unbeatable. It's only other bands can dream of following on from, and have. And many have done and come pretty close. When you have 4 people that individually, when you break them down, you know, the Starman, the Demon, the Space Ace, and the Cat, it was just always going to be huge. Back to the music. Now, the album Alive, what the boys did is they took at least three strong anthems, maybe 5, from their previous 3 albums, and they jammed it into the Alive concert, of course, because they figured out early, you've got to write anthems to be successful, and they had to keep writing anthems in order to go to the next level. Well, they figured this out, and they got it right. Let's talk about influence. Not only does Alive have an influence over you and me, the fans, it also has an incredible influence, and has had an incredible influence with musicians alike. And I'm talking about everyone that you can think of. It started this era of gotta wear the makeup to the concerts thing, you know, emulating your favorite character. I mean, it went to a whole new level, so much so they made a movie. Didn't do that well. In fact, I think you'll even find that the boys will admit that they wish they never did that. Individual solo albums. What this also did too for the record label at the time is it allowed them to identify who had the most popularity and who had the follow-on, birthing out of the 70s into something that really was any man's game, or woman's. It became an interesting statistic because it was always based on the music. Without the great tracks and the tunes, this was never going to be anything. Had Kiss evolved without the makeup, we'll never know how things would have gone for them. But just based on the music, just based on the live, raw quality that this band is, they were going to go anyway. They were. And I know that people like Paul Stanley must wonder, would it have been as good? Would we have got to this height? You know, everything's a mix and a match, and it gets to where it goes purely based on that talent. Without going through all of the tracks, you've heard most of them. Rock and Roll All Night, Strutter. I mean, Cold Gin is one of the most underrated live tracks I think I've ever heard. At the heart of it was an all-American great rock band, and they developed and cultured this great rock sound that, as I said, other musicians can only dream of emulating. I mean, for the most part, yeah, you can copy it. But to create it as they did, alive, is unbeatable. Without a doubt, a rock album of all time. Alive. Kiss. Well, I think I'll go home, sit in my basement and watch my foundation shift. Until next time.